Well. Firstly, I'm trying to wrap my head around what has been a very bizarre 20-25 minutes, okay? Before we get into what I can unanimously say, I don't care what the semantics, the broadcasters or any others would want to paint, this has been a very poor day 2 for India in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy 4 test. Do we have a unanimity on that? Because what we are going to discuss from this point on perhaps may not be as unanimous, okay? But before I deep delve into what has been a very poor day for India, Sports Today would like to pay tribute to former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. He died at the age of 92. We pay tribute to him, we salute him for his contributions to India. The father, you may say, of modernization, liberalization in India, his economic policies, 2 terms as Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014, a wonderful statesman, an astute individual, a honest individual. We at Sports Today deeply will miss the contributions of Dr. Manmohan Singh. And by the way, read his resume. It is awe-inspiring to say the least.
I told you a thing or two new about him today.
Of course, D-Phil, man. A very, very astute politician that we had. So we offer our condolences. India has lost a very big leader in Manmohan Singh. And the Indian cricket team, that is why we're sporting black armbands today as well. But
Both men and women.
both men and women, and it is a big loss. And I do remember him that he was there in the 2011 World Cup. He had watched the India-Pakistan semi-final in Mohali, and he exchanged pleasantries with the Indian cricket team and the Pakistan cricket team as well. So a huge loss for us today. But forget all that. We express our mourning and shock for that. But there is nothing shocking with the way how this Indian cricket team has shaped up today on day 2.
Worst day in BGT, I think just the day equivalent to being so bad, I think was the first day of the BGT. But sort of that, we do not remember that as much because we ended up winning that
No,
test.
I will wait for
Adelaide.
January 8.
Also
Oh,
Adelaide.
you're saying worst, many more bad days are coming.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't know what is in store until January 7th. Okay, I'm not even sure what is in store until 30th of December. But your 20 minutes of play today, the last 20 minutes, suggested shambolism, lack of planning, gutless decision making, and on top of that, what transpired when everything was going smooth, when you see at that point 6 runs, 3 wickets falling, you are now staring down the abyss after 143 runs were scored in the first session at the run rate of over 5. Okay? But our 3 major talking points today, the Jaiswal Kohli situation that happened, Yashasvi Jaiswal run out, Rohit Sharma. Now, please amplify it, multiply it 100x, you have to ask questions about his test future. And third, this decision making when there were 20 minutes of play left, you promote a night watchman. It's not the first time that
It's
it has
happened
happened.
the second time in recent months.
Exactly. Mohammad Siraj was promoted and he fell for the trap in Mumbai. Here, Akash Deep, you threw him to the Wolves and Australia capitalized. So, talking point number 1, and I'm sure there is going to be a lot of divisive opinions here. Jaiswal versus Kohli in that run out, Jaiswal 82. Who's at fault? Gentlemen, the floor is all yours. Who wants to go? Who is at fault in the Jaiswal Kohli situation?
Is this even a debate? According to me,
Please.
it isn't. I'll be very, very clear and very honest over here. Because just as far as cricketing logic goes, as far as how things go, the first thumb rule of batting, running in between the wickets is if the ball is not behind the stumps, not behind square, if it's in front in the vision of the striker, then the call is clearly of the striker. It's not the job of the runner to be doing ball watching. Secondly, if the ball would have been, if the wicket would have gone behind the stumps, that is a very different thing. But here it was clearly Jaiswal's call.
Which I will add, in the Pune match, when Rishabh Pant and Virat Kohli was there, it's juxtaposing to that.
Yeah,
That time
exactly.
the ball went behind. But Pant was not quick enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Here,
continue.
Second, after that, Virat Kohli watching the ball, I think a microsecond loss there.
And
after that,
and an important addition, a trigger movement initially.
a trigger movement. No, I'm saying, okay, trigger movement, even though, see, at times what happens now, when the batter sort of strikes the ball, just as a reflex action, you have a trigger movement. Maybe you're not going for the run still, but you still have that trigger movement. But it's at the end of the day, you have to trust the call of the striker in that sense. Also, the danger end, I think that is very important. It was hit on mid on. See again, mid on was because it's a test match. The circles aren't the 30-yard circles aren't made in that sense. So that is why I feel even Pat Cummins was a little outside that circle, even though we cannot see the circle. See, I think it was half.
Seen the replay,
See, was he there to stop the single?
Yes.
No, but it wasn't for the. See,
Because there was no single for the taking in the first place.
how wasn't there a single
Yeah,
for the taking?
please.
I have
Yes.
seen
Yeah.
enough.
This is the other
No,
side
you
of the
make your
debate.
point,
Yeah.
and I know where you're coming from, so you make your
So
point.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
patiently
Yashasvi
listening to you.
Jaiswal, it was the danger end. As far as the danger end is concerned, it was at the bowling end, because the throw the Pat Cummins would have thrown at the end that was closer to him, not the further end, which was even further far away from him. So even the danger end was of Yashasvi Jaiswal. So Virat Kohli I don't think he should have sort of done ball watching, and as soon as by the time and Yashasvi Jaiswal also completed the run. He was almost there on the wicket, so even Virat would have reached. Also, the throw wicket keeper also had to reach the
Sufficient ground,
had to cover sufficient ground. Until and unless it would not have been a direct hit, Virat Kohli would have been absolutely safe.
The other side of the debate.
If the throw was done on the
So for
further
me,
end.
there's no one guilty party. I look at it as 55-45. 55, Yashasvi Jaiswal at fault for me.
He's at fault.
Yes, 45, Virat, where is he at fault? Because he's 45 for me. I'll first talk small bit about Virat. Shashwat rightly says cricketing logic tells you that if you're the non-striker and if the striker's hitting in the V, this is something I remember explaining for that
Pune run
Virat
out,
situation as well, Rishabh situation. If it's hit in the V, which is where the sight is for a batter, then you completely trust your partner and you go for the run. That's what cricketing logic tells you. That's point number one, though. However, this isn't the complete story over here. If you are empowered as a striker to go ahead and make the call for a single, doesn't mean you're always right. In this situation, Yashasvi Jaiswal was wrong because there was no single over there. You look at where the fielder was. Pat Cummins is planted there at mid-on. The ball gets played completely in his track. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to move a lot of inches as well. Just 2 steps forward, the ball comes exactly in his track, exactly where he would want it. The preferred arm, everything, doesn't have to move an inch, as I said, and had to just ensure that the ball is then thrown to the keepers. And he could have, in fact, it was so well, the ball came so well in his track, he could have chosen which end to throw had the two been caught in the middle. But that wasn't the situation because Yashasvi was firstly. Now, let me add more logic to this. It was the last ball of the over. Yes. Yashasvi had gotten some momentum in the previous overs. Was there a single there? The ball was hit with soft hands. Agreed. It wasn't like hit very well that it reached
Are you sure it was hit with soft hand? I thought it was hit fairly well to go that quickly to the fielder.
But I'm saying even if it, because for me it was sort of, okayish kind of a manner in which it was hit. But I saw no run over there. Again, this is not T20 cricket. What was the need? And I understood the urge that he wanted to be on strike the next over as well. He had momentum with him and he wanted to face whosoever the bowler would have been. Maybe it would have been Boland from the other end or whosoever.
No, it was Boland bowling.
So maybe
I think it was
Cummins
Cummins or a Stark.
Or a Stark, whatever. He just wanted strike at that point, and I understood where he was coming from because he wanted to keep that strike. Because forget the run out. I'm saying even while we were all watching, the moment that I saw him hit the ball, like, why is he even running for this? And the ball hadn't even traveled. The frame wasn't such that I could see Pat Cummins. My first instinct was, why is he running for this? So and it was all, in a moment that you realize, okay, so that was my thought, how I processed it. Because you're not playing T20 cricket.
Right.
There's no real hurry over here. And was that run really on? To me, it wasn't because it was hit clearly in the path of the fielder. There was no run over there. While Virat shouldn't have wasted that microsecond ball watching. However, it was the wrong call to make. So just because Yashasvi had the right to make the call doesn't mean he made the right call.
Right. Okay. So you are saying that primarily since it was no run. So it was Jaiswal's fault. You believe that since he's the striker, Yashasvi Jaiswal, he has the prerogative, okay? And you have to trust him come what may. Okay.
And also just to add on to that, I think it was played with soft hands, so it did not reach that quickly. Secondly, Jaiswal to begin with played that shot a little
Again,
outside
are you
his pitch.
sure that it was played with soft? Because I'll tell you the chronology, okay? What happened, okay? Scott Boland is coming from round the wicket, okay? So Yashasvi Jaiswal in the last couple of overs prior to that was hitting the ball very sweetly, okay? He had raced along to 82. Good strike rate of 70. So what he does is he wrists the delivery to mid-on, okay? You see the kind of shot? He wristed it, okay? I don't think by my first instinct that the ball was played with soft hands, because normally when you wrist it, it's not played softly. You have to have a fair bit of power to wrist the delivery to mid-on, okay? So that's one. It went, Jaiswal immediately head off, okay? Kohli had a trigger movement, but then he realized, oh, the ball's going too quickly. He then went back.
No, Siddharth, I
He
don't
ball
think it
watched.
was. You know why? I'm sorry to cut you short over there, but what I felt, and this is where I think, even though, see, ball watching was for all about a microsecond, as we were saying, but I would give it to the batter over here in Virat or the non-striker in Virat, because of all these years of playing cricket, and you know if mid-on's up, then your instinct will also tell you, okay, the fielder's here, why is he running? When you know where the fielders are planted, you don't really take that risk, and this is not T20 cricket.
So that is what Virat thought, okay? So that's
Firstly,
what Virat
I don't think the mid-on was absolutely up in that sense. That he was
clearly you've not seen the footage
No,
in
no,
that
I have seen it multiple times. What I'm trying to tell you is, I don't think he was on the circle in that sense. It wasn't like he was.
It
up
wasn't deep. He wasn't deep mid-on.
Yeah, it was not. No. What I'm trying to say, it wasn't like a dip. It wasn't like the mid-on you would have in a limited overs game, because the way Jaiswal was actually playing, I would, as a captain, I would have mid-on a little halfish, not even on the boundary, not even there to stop the boundary and also to prevent
It wasn't
doubles.
for the boundary,
It was
it was-
also. It wasn't to protect the
bat
single.
commences inside the circle, simple as that.
Okay, so, okay, just
I think
upstairs it
Pawan
was
has
there,
something
yeah.
to show to us.
Up.
Okay.
Look at that.
So,
There's no boundary question over here at all.
he was not deepish, he was in between. So he was closer to mid-on, if you look at it, closer to the stumps area, okay? Now, looking at the way...
This is also at the time he collected the ball. By then,
But he
even
didn't have to
Yashasvi
move-
Jaiswal.
I am telling you, he didn't have to move more than two.
He didn't have to move
steps.
much.
More than 2 steps.
Yeah.
So he is well within the 30-yard circle, is what I'm telling you.
So, okay, now look at what has happened here, okay? Kohli initially had a trigger movement. Let us be very honest, that footage doesn't lie. He had a trigger movement, but then he realized, oh, it's going too quickly. I'd better turn back. So he turned back. So when Jaiswal has already had more than halfway down the pitch, it's too late. Now, is Virat Kohli a slow runner? Number one, I want to ask you all that question. He's supremely
I
fit,
have
right?
no doubt about his fitness and the fact that he would have made it.
Yes.
I may also tell that if he had just trusted Yashasvi blindly,
Yeah, he would have made
maybe he would have.
Yeah,
I would
okay.
say 80% I have a feeling he would have made it. However, it's the cricketing instinct within you that will make you turn, because this was very risky. Again, it's not a T20 game, Siddharth. This is Test cricket. And was there a dire need for you to, change ends and ensure that the strike was being rotated? No, runs were flowing rather quickly and rather smoothly.
So
I don't think that single
okay,
was on.
so what has happened is, if you look at the Pune incident, what happened? Rishabh Pant was slow. So there we exonerated Virat Kohli from all the blame, because it was clearly his call. Virat had played it there. Everybody was tempted to say Virat was in the wrong. No, Virat was absolutely not in the wrong in Pune. It
wasn't even his call.
It was Rishabh Pant's call. Okay, number one. But number two, here in Melbourne, look at the situation. Jaiswal called. He called immediately. He had across. Virat must have wasted ball watching 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds.
No. 3 is a lot, Siddharth.
2-3 seconds, I'm saying.
No, less than
1-2
We're talking
microsecond.
fractions. No,
1-2 seconds.
1.5.
Okay,
perhaps.
1.5 seconds. But had he trusted Jaiswal's instincts, okay, they were taking quick singles prior to
Sir,
that.
just because it's like saying, just normal life analogy, just because I know you know how to drive doesn't mean you won't hit the car into the mountain.
Perfect.
People
Fair
can do
enough.
that, right?
Fair
I've seen
enough.
Virat being in part of such runouts many a times.
When?
Many a time, whenever, lots of times, even Rishabh Pant thing, when
No,
once
but
he
Rishabh was
himself,
not his fault at all.
yeah, it wasn't his
No.
fault. I'm not saying he's been at
Which
fault
is the
many
other time?
times.
Which is the other time?
When
I
he
can't-
got he got run out with Ajinkya Rahane. He himself
Fine,
got,
but
yeah.
then that was his mistake.
No,
I'm saying, no, I'm not
But-
saying it's been his mistake ever. All I'm trying to say is that he has been part of such instances
So what?
when either of the party has gotten run out because of that.
Way.
When
If
Rohit-
if a batter, I'm just saying hypothetically, if there's a batter who bats 60% of the times or 60% of the balls, because he's my best batter as he has been over all these years, if he's spending more time in the middle, it is bound that, he will be involved. So many of the times it was MS Dhoni, if he wasn't finishing, was there at the other end because the game situations are such.
But-
so whether he is there at the other end or not doesn't always tell the full story.
See, but looking at the way how they had run previous quick singles, okay? Looking at the trend, you can check the commentary, you can check the footage also, how they had run quick singles. It was purely on instinct and the trust that was there. Here, trust and misjudgment went out of the window.
It was too risky, Siddharth. It was just too risky.
However-
for that reason, which I'm not, ball watching while it's almost sort of borderline criminal if you're doing that as the non-striker. Here, I don't think that's the case because it was just too risky. It wasn't
Because
on.
you know what happened? That trigger movement is the giveaway. Initially, you started, okay, but then you turned back. And that wasn't it. It wasn't as if Virat had run down that way. He just was inches. He had just inches stepped out. But
You
again,
also have to keep in mind that Jaiswal had almost completed the run. Virat hadn't even moved, and also the wicket keeper had to cover a lot of ground. So even after
Exactly.
Jaiswal, even if Jaiswal would have decided to turn back midway, he still would have reached. So clearly the danger end was of Yashasvi Jaiswal, and that's a very big reason why you have to trust the call of the striker.
because had he not wasted that initial trigger moment plus watching the ball, I am 100% sure he would have made it. Because the
Comfortably,
throw was also
comfortably.
quite far. It took Carey some time to get there and whip the bails off. Okay, it took it time. So in this case, I think as you pointed out, cricketing logic, striker has to make the call. And it's not as if Virat is a slow runner. He's a very quick runner. So by that logic, if I have to look at it, yes, I will go for it. I will trust my instincts and run. What happened to the instinct? What happened to the judgment? In this case, Jaiswal was looking in far better rhythm than Virat Kohli. Let's be very honest. Kohli looked good, but then he had his moments also. Which is why I say the blame in this case, very partly is with Virat Kohli mostly. Because in my judgment book, he watched the ball. It was just fractions of seconds, like you said, but a fraction of seconds in any other day would have resulted in not run out for him. And that proved to be catastrophic.
The only thing I think, see, Yashasvi, of course, we get to see these visuals where he's at the same end as Virat's, but he was overcommitted to the run from the word go, not Virat. Virat needed that time to be sure whether there was a run or not. And once he got that surety that there's no run over here, both of them
Which
are,
is
But
where I
that's
think-
not the job of the
almost shaking
non-striker.
hands.
No,
It's
That's
not-
not the non-striker's job.
Again, like I said, if I know you're doing something wrong, you may just be able to pull it off, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to check on you.
But I'm going to suffer now. In this case, it would have been Yashasvi Jaiswal who would have suffered because clearly the danger end was of Yashasvi Jaiswal. Virat Kohli, anyways, it wasn't the danger end for Virat Kohli. That's a very big reason.
also-
It's not just about trust in this. When you're running between the wickets, it's also about who's going to suffer if the call goes wrong. It's always the person who's calling who's going to suffer. That's why you have to trust his call. More than trust, it's also about who's going to suffer.
You know, I've always been at loggerheads with him, but then here I agree because if it's mid-on, traditionally the fielder
Siddharth,
throws it to bowler's end,
But
not to the
I'll
striker's
tell you
end.
what,
Exactly.
from where the ball was collected, you see, he was almost sort of, he would have gotten to see at best one stump of the danger end. However, he could see all three stumps of the other end.
Fair enough. But then normally on instinct, I'm just talking about instinct.
It would have been double the distance, half the distance for
Exactly.
Virat Kohli
You
to
wouldn't
cover
have
as
thrown it
compared to the
that
throw.
much. By the time he threw and Carey would have collected, Virat would have
Again,
made
we're
it.
not playing T20 cricket, guys.
Yeah,
That's the way I look at it.
It was a risky run.
Yeah.
It was made far more suicidal by the run out. We are unanimous on
Yeah,
this
it
fact.
was definitely a risky
Risky
run, but still, I feel that
You
how
are
much risk was
now-
there?
You are now reaping the thing that, okay, now it is risky. I might escape. No, you have not escaped.
But
because
the only I think why Jaiswal is also at fault. There's just one reason for me why Jaiswal is at fault, because this happened a couple of overs back also, where there was sort of a confusion where Jaiswal decided to stay back when Virat said no for the run. So at that point, when Jaiswal knows that, see, with Virat Kohli, such situations have come up when at times he has also been at the receiving end, at times his partner has also been at the receiving end. These are the moments as a senior, maybe Virat Kohli, and even for a Jaiswal who's junior, who knows that how important his wicket is, how important his runs are, they should have had a communication word over there, because at the same shot, same position before a couple of overs back also, exactly that had happened. So that is where the communication should have also happened from both of them.
But this is a divisive opinion. This is going to divide social media in a big way. It's even divided us, because no one is in consensus as to who really is at fault. Both parties are at fault, but Shashwat and me, we are pointing to the side, okay, Virat is primarily to blame, because you have to trust the striker's call, because it's in his
Ashwat is saying
vision.
entirely Virat to blame. You're saying partly Virat.
Partly, but it is in the maximum, in the majority. Harshit's argument is that there was no run. Agreed. He had hit it so well that there was no run. Because when you wrist it, you don't play with softly. You don't wrist it softly unless you glance it to fine leg or to that.
Looking at the match, it's not like, Yashasvi hadn't got any runs for the last 10 balls or so, where he
was batting very well.
As a batter, you feel frustrated at times when you're locked in the crease, you haven't scored a run, the pressure mounts on you. None of that was there for either of the batters. So was the single run, it was very, very risky, when especially knowing, again going to say this again, yes, Virat should have trusted. However, the single was so risky that at times that cricketing instinct and experience also overshadows that the norm of the game, which is for you to just trust the one at the end, because you know the field setting as well.
Yep.
And when the ball is has been hit straight down the throat of the fielder, too risky. Doesn't matter who's where.
And see,
You're risking a wicket either way.
if this is dividing us, even in the dressing room and all the analysts, no one will have a unanimous thing, because this is the kind of situation which is perfect 50-50. Who is at fault? I don't know. Who can be at fault? We may know. So that is why this will divide opinion on social media and also amongst us. But it was cataclysmic, because yet again, outside
Played on
the
Virat's mind. This
fifth-
incident
yes.
definitely played on his mind.
There is one, I think, maybe I get a feeling that we're all on the same page over here, because Virat was playing in another mold altogether. He was in another mindset altogether. He looked to have learned his lessons, and he was leaving. I remember he had a little smile on his face as well when Stark was bowling to him, and he kept leaving. He let a couple of balls back to back, and I think the commentators also made that point. Then Boland was bowling to him, and again he was leaving the ball outside the off stump, and he was doing a good job at doing that. For those 36 runs, Virat looked good. Couple of good cover drives as well. We saw an on drive also from Virat. It was Pat Cummins, I know all these boundaries were hit too, and he was over pitching to Virat just a bit, but I thought he was really good in making the Australian bowlers change their plans. Virat was not touching the ball outside the off stump. He was scoring runs on the outside. He was scoring runs only on balls that were full. So he had done well till that point, but clearly he's also mortal. The time, and he would have taken some part of the blame as well for that Yashasvi incident. What happens within 5 minutes? He nicks a ball which wasn't a wicket-taking delivery, if you ask me. It wasn't in the channel of uncertainty either. It was again
Fifth stump.
Yes, it wasn't fourth stump, which is what squares you and challenges you. It wasn't around that line at all.
It wasn't that horror ninth stump dismissal which he had of Boland in the World Test Championship.
Yes,
final.
it wasn't that either. It was between the two, I would say.
Yeah.
And for everything that he had done for the last couple of hours, it looked such a poor shot at the end of the day. And it had to do with his involvement in the Yashasvi Jaiswal dismissal.
Yes, it played on his mind, and he's also acknowledged to the host broadcaster that I am not having the discipline to curb my play outside the off stump. He did say that. But now, look, peak Virat also suffered from the same problem. Peak Virat. Now, the unfortunate thing is, this will only amplify even more, because bowlers at this point in time, they have had a golden opportunity. We have got Virat Kohli, the greatest person, the greatest batter that we have had in the modern era on the mat. We do not want to get him off. And Australia already had a glimpse of it in Perth. They don't want this, boss. If that happens, then they're doomed. Here, Boland, we knew why Scott Boland was going to do this. Maintain in that channel outside of, gets it to nick it. Virat already is under the pump, and we have done a video also on the media reactions that have become very, very vitriolic. We were talking about Monkeygate in 2008, right? 2024 is Mediagate. Whatever is happening, it is an ugly spectacle that is playing out outside of the field. On the field, this has been a very, very professional unit that is there. The Australian players are not bothered of what has been written. They don't care. But if this was a contest between media entities, instead of Monkeygate, it would be Mediagate. That's how this 2024 series has been. Everybody is like having an easy target of the media.
This is also, there's a difference in, let's say, what we do and what gets done across the Pacific over there. Because I saw that poster that was shared in the group as
Yes,
well.
yes.
This is something that had come to me yesterday night too.
Correct.
And there's a certain level of decency, that we all need to maintain as individuals, especially in the profession that we are all in. Being scathing is one, but mocking as media institutes, again,
But you know where it is coming from.
Not
Yes.
just that, the Australian media has also been on to both extremes. Just before the Indian team went, they were calling him the king with the crown and all of that.
they
Hindi.
had Hindi lines
been,
and
yeah,
all. They
it's
had
been on
the
both the
headlines in
extremes,
Hindi.
so I do understand
However,
that.
again, yes, the media reaction over there has been strong as to what Virat did. And again, that's something that's divisive. That is something that's going to divide opinions. And by now, everyone has picked their side as to how they saw what happened yesterday. However,
I had a huge debate last night with one of our family members about this. I told him that.
At home.
Yes, I mean, he was the one who shared that, and I want to thank him if he comes on chat. That thanks for sharing that, because it gave us.
his name.
I will take once he comes on the chat. Let's see. So, what happened is, I basically told him that look at how the United Kingdom media work. Okay, who are the most read papers there? The Sun and the Daily Mail. Are they legacy outlets? No. The headlines that is there.
the Sun actually, because
I remember, how did I come to know that the Sun was so this thing? It impinged on my mind. Remember 1998, the FIFA World Cup. Beckham missed I think he was sent off against Argentina. They had that one word headline. Instead of David Beckham, they had put David Beckscum. That was how power. I thought this was downright insulting. But then when you go there, you realize that yes, that's how the media operates. Australia is cut off from the same cloth, and that's why I mentioned the West Australian is not a legacy paper. It is a tabloid paper.
exactly.
Tabloids function like that only. That's why they are tabloids. If a legacy outlet had done it, then yes, you had every right to criticize them. But then a tabloid works in a different way. Plus, unpopular opinion, Virat didn't help himself with that shoulder barge against Sam Constance. I'm sorry. He's a veteran. He's a modern great. He has set standards up here as far as being an inspiration to many, even for Constance. But those standards came down here with that barge. It was absolutely unnecessary.
People are likening it to what Ponting had done to Harbhajan.
Of
And
course.
people have their, again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
That's how the media functions there.
Yeah, but
Sandpaper Gate, did they leave? Were they very lenient towards Steve Smith, David Warner, and Cam?
was reduced to tears. So was David Warner.
Exactly. The media in the Western world, if you do anything wrong, they're brutal on you,
I
folks.
remember the police over there as well, the way they were removed from the airport.
Omar Tambo Airport in Johannesburg. Yep,
Yes,
yep.
over there, and how they were treated back home as well.
Boss, there is nothing called a star-spangled thing. You want views, if it's wrong, they call it like that. Yes, they will sensationalize. Like, for example, the Sun, the Daily Mail, and all
The
those,
Sun,
they
I remember, so I was
sensationalize.
coming to the story about the
Yeah.
Sun because I had to track a lot of transfer news as
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
following football in school days.
Of course.
So
And
again,
the Sun and Daily Mail are the top when you look at it.
yeah, there's the Daily Mirror also.
Yeah, Daily Mirror,
But
yes.
soon I realized, it took a couple of years of tracking transfer news that the Sun will give you just headlines that will look good to the eye.
Exactly.
And just in terms of authenticity, the Sun would be all over the place. Every year they would hint at a Cristiano Ronaldo return to Old Trafford. Every year it would happen.
Yeah.
Every year they would link a Neymar somewhere else. Every year a Ronaldinho would be sent somewhere else. So again, you realize that they just give you what people
Yes.
want to hear, or
In your face. In your face. And if you want heights of tabloidization, go and relive the Madeleine McCann case. The Daily Mirror was changed to Daily McCann. Every day there would be some sensational update, which was not news. Technically, legacy media would have ripped it apart. But here, that's the way it is. So, tabloid press are doing their job. But Virat hasn't helped himself, firstly, by what happened on December 22 and what happened on December 26th. December 22, that confrontation with a female journalist, let me tell you, that confrontation with a female journalist, we in India will be rallying behind Virat Kohli. But then imagine that journalist was doing her job. She wasn't filming it at Virat Kohli airport, which needed Virat Kohli's permission. This,
can there be a Virat Kohli airport?
it can, anything.
There is
you
a
can
Chris-
even build a statue for
There
him
is a
also.
Cristiano Ronaldo airport.
Yeah, but Virat Kohli, it can happen. But in Australia, in a public space, you can't allow a third person from a foreign country to dictate you what is the rules. I'm sorry. That is downright insulting. If someone from UK advises me in India when I know the rules, I will find it downright humiliating. Boss, you have got no right to tell me what to do. So Virat hasn't helped himself with his off-field antics. And the barging to Sam Constas, sorry, that
There was
ensured
only
that you are
one
open.
way, which is why day 2 was very important, because you knew at some point Virat will be involved again in the field. You know, and this time with, or in the avatar that we like to see him the most, which is with the willow in his hands.
The willow.
The one way of silencing the crowd and maybe, you know, getting on top of the whole occasion, which is what Virat so likes to do. I thought yesterday was the start of that. Today, how he needed to back that up was with runs. Had a good start. Had a very good. If there was people in the stands today that come to see Virat Kohli bat, today was not the day where you were to see Jasprit Bumrah bowl. That day, you know, had happened yesterday. So today was all going to be about Virat. However, yes, there was a good start, and what's most annoying, let's say, about all of this is that for those 36 runs, he looked very good. But the sentiment around Virat now in the stadium, because there were boos ringing as well in the stadium when
Which
he
was
was
terrible.
coming out of bat after tea. There were boos ringing, there was some applause as well. There's obviously going to be applause when Virat comes out of bat, but there were boos, and we all know where this was coming
As
from.
I mentioned, booing is terrible. I mean, I've never held the Australian public high on virtue,
I'm
although they had a
saying
legitimate
you
right.
go any sport, yeah, be it football, be it cricket, be it tennis, be it anything. You know, Novak Djokovic hasn't been the most happy with the kind of reception that he gets at all times.
Yeah.
Right. So
He's managing to convert that and win.
exactly.
But it also gets to him. I mean,
we know that. We know that as
the
well.
better example would have been Daniel Medvedev.
Medvedev as well.
Medvedev is even more unpopular than Novak Djokovic, despite saying, "Arey, but I haven't done anything." The same dialogue. "Mujhe kyun tod rahe ho?" It's not like that. But then, don't think that we are an anti-Virat channel, because now we are going to the next set of fans, the Rohitians. Please, someone tell me, what does Rohit Sharma want to do? Is he wanting to single-handedly destroy the Indian batting lineup? Because the shot that he got out to today,
First, let's talk about the move.
terrible move,
The move to open.
terrible. It indicates that you want to ensure others are a sacrificial lamb. Sacrificial lambs to the slaughter. KL Rahul always says, okay sir, okay sir. Oh, he's that employee who will want to always do well in any shift.
No, but to begin with, he also left his position, na Rohit?
But then did KL Rahul not capitalize on it?
No, KL Rahul did capitalize on it. That's why that day we had this debate
And
on
the
should he open or
underlining
not.
theme on that debate was Rohit failed more in the opening slot in this last sample size you got for 2-3 months than at number 6.
Also, the other thing, and I agree with Siddharth, again, this was being touted that this could happen. I maintained that I wanted to see him bat at 6 because he's the captain. It's not like, he'll be on the bench. He has to be in the 11. But does that mean you take out one of your better looking batters? And KL Rahul, he may not have the most runs at the moment for this Indian team, But he does have the most confidence, and he has looked one of your better batters or one of the best batters after Yashasvi.
No, I understand
even
all of
better,
this.
I would
If
say.
there was somebody to be dropped from this
But-
team, the first person should have been Rohit Sharma.
But-
The only thing is because he
Let me
cannot be.
complete. My only other point being, did we see anything from Rohit Sharma that we didn't see from KL Rahul, or anything better that he was doing than KL Rahul in the previous 2 test matches for him to have commanded being the opener again?
By the way, KL was opening. Because
Yeah,
Rohit didn't even last
exactly,
6
exactly.
balls.
That's what I'm trying to tell. The logic was never about dropping KL Rahul from the
It's-
opening
it's a
slot.
different thing, Siddharth, we know that.
It
It's
was
a different thing.
It was about utilizing Rohit Sharma the best possible way, and the best possible way to utilize Rohit Sharma was to open. And KL Rahul coming at number 3 would not have changed anything, because either of the situation, if
You know,
Rohit
they,
Sharma, let
they
me
say
now.
that they say, and you've played more cricket than I have, I think. It makes a difference when you're walking out with somebody by your side, and it makes a difference when you're walking out alone.
It
These things
clearly
matter
does,
a lot.
but that's what I'm trying to tell
Yes,
you.
I know. That an open that you
No, but the
see
logic,
a-
the
see
logic
a
to the whole
opener
him was at opening. He gives you more confidence. Where does he give you more confidence to score runs?
At the
number
moment,
6, nowhere. At the moment, nowhere. But even if we have to give that 1% chance,
will give it
I'll
at
give
the
it at
present-
opening, because now after seeing this innings,
No,
that is
no.
in hindsight.
No, it's not in hindsight. I've been saying this on this show for about 3 weeks now.
Same
that
here.
for me, Rohit Sharma, and I've seen his numbers as well at number 6. They're not awful at all.
They are 48, average of 48.
Exactly. And as an opener, it's 44 if I'm not wrong, 42, 43. Around that mark. So number wise as well, no problem. Rohit Sharma batting at number 6. Yes,
But that was
he's-
6 years back.
He's done that after a while, but batting him again, as was being said, at number 3. Right now, he's completely at sea. Again, a seaming ball, a moving ball. The idea of him batting at number 6 is that he gets to bat, firstly, not to a new ball. At number 6, you're coming out to bat when there's a spinner bowling from the other side, and then he's completely at sea. Need to acknowledge that, and this is not the time for this is where I belong and this is what. No, I like the fact that he willingly gave his space up for somebody who was doing much better, who was giving you the kind of confidence you needed to see in an opening batter by leaving all those balls, by playing with a lot of composure. But did I see? My only question to this team management and the Indian captain is, did I see anything in the previous 2 test matches that he's played that we made this change? What did we see?
It would not have made, all I'm trying to say, it would not have made a lot of difference to KL Rahul, because the kind of confidence he was showing, I don't think it.
You can't start playing with 11 now.
No. At number 3, I'm saying at number 3. But what Rohit Sharma could have done was that if you got those 20-30 quick fire runs, because you cannot drop him. The ideal situation is you ideally drop him and get in somebody else at number 6 and play that batter at number 6. The most ideal situation was that. But because you cannot drop him, the best utilization of him is to open, like you did with Virat Kohli, to be very honest, during the T20 World Cup. The best utilization of him was to open. So that's why you sacrificed the Yashasvi Jaiswal so that he could open. That's exactly what Rohit Sharma has done here. That's why I feel that Rohit, even if the ball got a little older and then KL Rahul came in, the way he was batting, very well he was batting, that would not have changed as such with him. But with Rohit Sharma coming up, at least if you got those 20, 30, 50 quick fire runs, that could have changed the look of the game, because we have seen the series 300 run has been the sort of the mark where you can win games, and those 50, 60, 20, 30, which is not getting at number 6. If you got at the opening position, then you sort of would have had a different way the match would have turned out.
Till when are we going to hold on to the fact, he will give us 20-30 runs, give us 20-30 runs,
Just
quick
one
runs.
more test match, but you cannot drop him in
But
between.
again,
Nah.
This is where his team selection for Melbourne was so off.
That has been since the beginning of the series.
How could you sacrifice the Shubman Gill? Okay. And you already have a depleted batting lineup on confidence, which is why what kind of a decision was when you had 25 minutes remaining, you promote an Akashdeep as a night watchman? Are you kidding me at this point in time? Either the management is sleeping or they are watching some other match in a parallel universe. Because it made no cricketing sense to promote an Akashdeep when there were 25 minutes left. I can understand if there were only 1 over left. Then okay.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And this is something, by the way, this is something that you experienced just a few weeks back. Now,
Last month.
why are we making the
Even
same
a
mistake
better,
all over again?
even if you had to send somebody who should have been the night watchman, firstly 20 minutes left, you should not be sending one. Then it should have been a Jasprit Bumrah. The only reason being that an Akashdeep is somebody who takes on the attack. He likes to play his shots.
Are
Then he
you-
could have come and done that.
Where is cricketing logic?
There is
Sending
no-
a Bumrah.
No, it's not. I'm saying 20 minutes. There is anyways no logic in sending a night watchman.
So-
When there are 20 minutes left.
Okay, is Nitish Kumar Reddy Chris Martin? Is Washington Sundar Chris Martin?
No.
Who can't hold a bat?
No, ideally you should not be sending a night watchman.
Then why did they do it? What is the thinking? I think there is no thinking.
There is no thinking. You played 3 all-rounders in Melbourne and a test match.
So
There
today,
also is no thinking.
let us look at our 3 magnificent all-rounders. How did they bowl well? Okay, because bowling is one aspect. Okay, Nitish Reddy 7 overs for 21. Washington Sundar 15 overs 1. Okay, he got the wicket of Labuschagne. Okay, Ravindra Jadeja, who is a proper decent bowler and a batter, 23 overs 3 for 78. Okay, but how many overs did they bowl in total? A total of 45 overs. So that means out of 122, 45. They bowled 1/3 of the overs, close to. Who shouldered the burden yet again? A creaking Jasprit Bumrah, who even, despite not being 100%, will give you 110%. 4 for 99. And you bowled him to the ground. Congratulations, you have bowled him to the ground. And now, if you don't survive this test match, how are you going to play him in Sydney? And how much is the turnaround period? 3 weeks? 3 days. 3 days is the turnaround period. Which is why I am saying your decision in MCG to Team 11 itself, the Indian team thought that we are playing a white ball game. We are not playing a red ball game. They are playing a white ball game. So that is why the absolutely ridiculous move to get Akashdeep up backfired. Not on with 25 minutes to go. If it was 20 seconds to go, I would have agreed. But 25 minutes, no. Absolutely no.
You've simply given the test match.
Rohit
away.
Sharma
On
now
day
has
2.
less runs than Jasprit Bumrah. That is the form you're talking about in the BGT. He's got more runs. He's got lesser runs than
We've been
Jasprit
playing
Bumrah.
the whole test match, whole test series, in fact, just on one thing, that there's going to be fast, fiery, short pitch delivery. That's exactly what Rohit Sharma was expecting. That's how he got out. It wasn't that short. It wasn't so quick. He was early on the shot. You got out. Same, the bowlers are also doing, thinking that it's going to be so fiery, so pacey, bowling continuously short, not knowing where to go. They're just playing on some other wicket, and Australia is playing on some other wicket.
Which is why
Because they've read the wickets differently.
you're staring down the barrel. And Australia won a good toss. They had the first conditions.
How many runs do you need more to?
You need another
follow on?
110 runs more to avoid the follow. Anyway, even if they had a lead of 220, 230, Australia not going to enforce the follow on. They want to bowl Bumrah to the ground. Ensure that they achieve 2 things. One, he may not be totally fit for Sydney. And then with the weather in Sydney that is there, we have achieved our objective.
There are very less chances that they'll lose this test match from here.
Let's see. I don't know about it. But yes, at this point in time, I'm tempted to agree that yes, India will be staring down the barrel. And okay, now shall we go to this section of Shivam Giri before we take the comments? 82 at MCG. I have seen this before. Oh yes, I mean 182 has given you a lot of despair, but the other 82 2 years back was one of the greatest 82s that we have ever seen in the history of cricket. Kohli goes down the ground, Kohli goes out of the ground. But here, Kohli went out of the ground. That's the win. So, there's one more tweet. This moment where India started to move away from WTC final. I think what happened on day 1. You are lucky that you have been somehow 1-1 up. You are level 1-1. But this, see, Australia is a team that will expose certain chinks. And they have done it. Now Australia have much more to do at this stage. Kohli, after successfully avoiding 85 balls. There's a scene, I think, from Bhagam Bhag. Hey, raha nahi jata, tadap bhi aisi. This is a good one. This is a good one, yes. See, 5th stump. 5th, 6th stump. One more comment. Finally, जब बैटिंग अच्छी होने लगी तो रन लेने की जल्दी क्यों? आखिर क्यों? Yeah, as I said, no one will be on the same page in the Jaiswal Kohli situation. More Shivam Giri's Shivam. One more ex-user is saying. The bottom one, okay. gets a text from crush after getting ignored for 999 times. My mind, don't reply, don't reply, don't reply, don't reply. Me after ignoring the text for 10 minutes. ठीक है, that's what the Bhagam Bhag one was spectacular. That was a very good meme that is there. Any more? Okay.
This is...
Okay, people expected Virat to jump like Sarfaraz to stop Jaiswal from... Oh yes, in Bengaluru.
Got in his tracks, he to go jump around and whatnot.
Correct. Yes, that was also a precursor to the disaster that was unfolding. But then luckily, that didn't happen. Yes, so... This run out is going to dominate headlines and it's not going to be very, very easy in that sense. So let's take a couple of questions.
The best part. We've done
Yep.
our bit. Over to you guys.
Over to
Let's see
you
what
guys.
you guys have to say.
Wow, lots. Today people are really not happy. So Ashish Dhar. Okay, which is the best test innings of all time? Lakshman 281, Sehwag 319, Sunil 229. Sachin 136, Dravid 217, Lara 400, Lara 375, Dhawan 187.
There is no
one
Sachin.
one quick.
There's no 2 for 1 here.
No. For me, Lakshman 281. Changed cricket entirely. Lakshman 281 for me. What about you?
Lara 400.
Lara 400.
411.
Harshit?
I'll go with Sehwag 319.
But Ashish, sir, why not 309 here at Multan that set up a
Multan?
win? Yeah, I don't know why. Prince is like saying, I think it's Shubman Gill who's there. Sack RS.
No, he can't say that.
Sack RS, GG and VK T20 tactics in Test cricket, as I had said, which is a white ball. I think they were playing for a white ball Test match, not a red ball Test.
CB series.
CB series. Oh, those were the novel days here. But that's gone. 16 years ago it went. Vishal Panchal from the US has a question for Shashwat. Shashwat, Virat would have made it if not a direct hit. Really, this is your argument? Also, soft hand, really, you need to watch it again. But Vishal Panchal, I did tell him it wasn't played with soft
What
hands.
I said that if there would have been a direct hit, then it would have been close. I'm not saying if there would have been a direct hit, he would have gotten out. It would have still been close because where Cummins was throwing, the point where Cummins had thrown to as compared to Virat, the distance was half for Virat to reach and for him to Cummins to throw. So yeah.
We all agree that it was not played with soft hands. I think the way you wrist it, you can't play wristly with soft hands. Unless you are a Mohammad Azharuddin. But he's no Mohammad Azharuddin in that way. So, yes, it wasn't played with soft hands. It was a risky run which didn't pay off at the end of the day. Let's go down. Vishal Panchal saying, but he's agreeing with you. Agree, Jaiswal call and Virat should have, but this is not white ball cricket. Not sure what cricket you're watching. It was played with hard hands. But yes, even Harshit raised the point that this is not white ball cricket. It was a very, very risky thing. And Shubham Garg adding into that. Cummins was standing 10 meters away from crease. Shashwat is like, Cummins was not up if batter is running blindly for behind ball. Non-striker has to say no. But there I think he told a bit too late.
And that to the danger end again, the danger end
This
all
is the
depends.
closest to what I've been saying. Again, the ball.
Harshil's of the opinion that was no run.
It was no
Which
run
is
at all.
fair in
Also,
its
you
own way.
can't take that away from the non-striker. Again, if you've spent enough time, if you've played all those 70, 80 balls, you've been there for about an hour and a half, you know where the fielders are kept. And at that point, you knew, okay, there was a fast bowler bowling. I know if the long on is up or not. Again, you know, if the batter is to know where the fielders are, the non-striker is also supposed to know where the fielders are. So there's absolutely no run over there. When a no mid-on's up, I'm not going to be charging like that. No run.
This has happened. Commentators say, oh, risky single, why you do that? But this time the risk did not pay off.
Also, the match situation didn't demand there to be a quick single.
Yes.
Not T20 cricket.
Yeah. Rakesh Bhushan. Zidane headbutted Materazzi in the chest during the 2006 FIFA World Cup final in France and Italy. Now, VK shoulder bumping, has the game become physical? And do we need to love and watch such stars? Again, that's a different debate altogether that we are going to have. Because see,
the one thing is, while football is a contact sport, even what Zidane did wasn't right.
he was sent off. France lost the final.
Exactly. And cricket is no contact sport.
Yeah. See, football has contact. Cricket isn't contact.
That was also an extreme level of contact, what Zidane did.
Because Materazzi, it is like, in Zidane's words, he abused his
abuses mother and sister.
Yes. See, if that was the case, then Materazzi deserves no sympathy whatsoever. But then, Match situation, France
But
lost
again,
the final.
actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. So, see, I'm sure a Ronaldo and a Messi have also had a physical this thing in football. But they carried themselves with style in that sense. They are idols for a reason. Ronaldo is an idol for a
So
reason.
is a
Messi is
Zidane.
an
I
idol.
would say even Zidane is a modern legend.
Zidane is a goat in my eyes.
Yeah,
Magician.
But again, that is something even he won't be proud of if you ask him right now.
I think he said it. It wasn't a proud moment for me because France lost the final. It happened in the final. That is where everything is at stake. But every others have managed to do something better, like for example Ronaldo and Messi, because they have a certain level of discipline that is there. Because the Chilean crowd gave it to Messi after the Copa America loss, and he went off social media. But that was the way how he coped up with it. Shubham Garg is again asking Shashwat, you are putting argument on the fact Cummins' throw was not accurate on keeper end. How can you make run decision based on this fact?
No, his throw was absolutely accurate. It was also about Carey had to cover a distance where he was standing behind the wicket, and he had to cover that ground. Even Cummins had to throw. Firstly, Cummins threw there because there was nobody there. Otherwise, it would have clearly been a smarter decision to throw on the bowling end, because that's the shorter way, and you also had the bowler standing there for the backup to the wicket. So that would have been clearly the end where Cummins would have thrown the ball. So, and Jaiswal had anyways reached there.
Okay, let's go down. Well, I mean, see, as I said, no one is right and no one is wrong in this debate. Okay. Commentators, Vishal Panchal, commentators who were on the ground said that there was no run.
If you watch the footage again, Vishal, even you will feel the same.
Exactly.
I can tell you. Yeah.
Danush is saying Jaiswal run broke Virat's confidence. Rohit has no confidence and will retire from tests with same number of test hundreds as Kumble and Agarkar in Sena. Okay, Kumble has one, Agarkar has
As
one.
one.
Rohit just has 200s in the Sena. I think both in England. Yes. Yeah. South Africa doesn't have. New Zealand he doesn't have. He has a 50 though against New Zealand. But yep, you're right, Danush. You're right actually. Dhruv Karunanidan is saying from the US. Reminded me of Dravid Ganguly run out in Adelaide 2003 that he's saying. Difference is Dravid got 200.
200. Yeah.
But Kohli was 174 runs off the mark in that sense. Vishal Panchal. Rocco not in form he's saying from the US again. Rocco not in form and batsman shot. Poor team selection by Rohit. What's Gambhir and Agarkar doing? It's their job to advise him, or is this Gambhir doing? I think this is the captain's doing. This is captain. Buck stops with the captain. Gambhir and
Both.
But does the coach have a big say in the playing level?
Playing 11.
Of course he does. He has
Doesn't
the whole
the captain
planning.
have the final rubber stamp?
He has the final rubber stamp, and when we give all the credit to the coach and the captain, same the flags, all of that should also go towards the captain and the coach.
Fair point then. Yep. See, Gambhir and Rohit would both agree on a consensus and rubber stamp it. In this case. Rishabh genius. If BCCI and selection committee is powerful, Rohit Sharma will be dropped for Sydney Test and retire. If not, I will say they are just not good enough.
No, because he's the captain, that's not going to happen before Sydney, but yeah, definitely after Sydney.
Rishabh genius. If India lose the BGT and are not going to go to the WTC final, you will see changes on January 8th onwards in the test ranking.
Yeah.
But if India make it to the WTC final, you will put it on hold until June. Yes. And maybe after England. Maybe. But if that doesn't happen, then it will be processed by January 8th itself. Ashish Dar. GG implementing KKR thinking in India. Again, I don't know. Is the KKR thinking...
You know, it's funny that again, maybe this has to do with Gautam Gambhir, the personality, but I think people tend to forget one thing, and I see a lot more coming in the way of Gautam Gambhir than some of the other coaches in the past. It's probably got to do with the personality that he is, but we're forgetting one thing. This is not like football. You know, cricket doesn't work like football, where the brickbats and the plaudits go both to the coach. Here, the decision-making authority, the topmost decision-making authority in cricket is always the captain.
Correct.
Let's not forget that. You are giving ideas constantly. There's a certain philosophy that the coach and captain are expected to be on the same page on. However, the final buck, because all the plaudits go to the captain in cricket, the criticism must also go to the captain. You look at finding ways of blaming someone else but the captain as far as Indian cricket is concerned.
No, but all the appreciation also goes to the coach. We talk about Rohit and Rahul Dravid both when we talk about the World Cup.
You don't talk about Dravid
We
as
do.
much.
When we talk about Virat and Shastri both together, na? Mostly as far as the captaincy
When we
was
talk about
concerned.
giving Indian cricket in Test cricket a new identity, you talk about Virat Kohli and his passion. You don't talk about
Even Ravi Shastri, Bharat
in the
Arun,
same breath.
not in the same
Let's
breath, but
be
yeah,
honest,
Shastri
yaar,
and
again.
Kohli together, Dravid and Rohit together. So here also it's Rohit and Gambhir together.
So,
Me at least.
Austin Kuna, he's the guy who I had a debate with last night. So, he's saying that runout was India's suicide from this series, and WTC final only a Pant Jadeja big partnership was the last over. But then you're keeping too many hopes on that. Manjrekar and Irfan had heated argument on TV debating about the runout. As I said, this runout will divide opinions. No one is right, no one is wrong. That's the way I will have to sum it up. So, yes. Today was a horrible day too for India. 143 runs, Steve Smith, 11th Test 100 against India. Man, oh man.
And he's the one who came to address the media today. So we will bring you his thoughts as well
Yep.
in just a short while. But for that, we'll have to take your leave.
Yes, so we'll be bringing you a lot more videos from sports today. Shashwat will do a video, Harshit will be up with some things. And we'll be having Sunny Ji at 6:30 hopefully today. Hopefully we should be having it. So let's see how that happens. So from me, Harshit and Shashwat, it is bye-bye. We'll be back with more updates from Sports Today. Subscribe. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live. And all of us here, see you soon.